Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. And I need to say a very, very big thank you and a big shout out to everyone who managed to rock with me last night on the Crawford v Madrimov watch along. I think I'm sitting at around 2,000-ish views at the moment, so at least 2,000 people sort of jumped in and out of the stream over the course of the night, and that was only just the YouTube numbers. I didn't even get a chance to broadcast over Twittex and other areas. So yeah, if you managed to stay up the same way I did, appreciate you guys. I'm not gonna lie, it was rough, it was hard. The thing didn't finish till 7 o'clock in the morning, and look, I know it wasn't a event that was geared towards us in the UK, but let's be honest, I'm sorry. Like, the fact it was done by a British promoter, you would think they would have a bit more consideration for the UK audience, especially the audience that had to pay the money to watch the event. Like, we all had to pay, so at least make it a bit more palatable to us. From there over there complaining, like the people on the East Coast are complaining that this thing's finishing at 2 a.m. in the morning. Like, yeah. And I've always said, like, when I hear Americans complaining about the time something's finishing or having to stay up late for an event, I always think, like, y'all don't know what a sacrifice it is for people to have to actually like support your events. But yeah, it was rough, but it was a great watch along. Bunch of new faces in the chat and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm not gonna take up too much time today. Let's start quickly of the Sky Sports and Boxer card that did take place, which arguably probably had the most fun fight of the night thus far. And I say that understanding I probably haven't seen every single fight that took place yesterday, but that McKenna versus Laws match, that was Aaron McKenna versus Joe Laws. 3 rounds of absolute carnage. Like, the first round, Joe Laws gets dropped, then McKenna gets dropped, and he's all glassy eyed and loose and barely cognitive for the whole of the second round, but he's just swinging on instinct, to the point in round 3 he just about manages to get himself back together, and then 3 big knockdowns of Joe Laws in the third round. Referee waves it off, towel comes in. It was just a great moment, great time. Also, shout out to friend of the channel, Connor the Kid Coyle, who he got a victory over James Lamotte. It was a unanimous decision, which I did predict it would be. So yep, he moves to 21-0 with 9 KOs now. Caroline Dubois, a very strong unanimous decision against Myra Moneo. Just too quick, too fast. Sometimes engaged in Myra's game when she didn't need to, but that's all part of just I guess trying to go for that KO, trying to go for that knockout. And yet again, she drops her opponent. So very, very dangerous, very big puncher. Didn't quite obviously get the stoppage, but she's on her way. Now she's the interim WBC champion, as well as being the IBO lightweight champion in the women's code. So shout out to Caroline Dubois. And yeah, I'm definitely going to have a bit of a follow-up with her over the next month or so, and either get her back on the channel or at least do like a piece, like a press conference or something like that. But yeah, shout out to Caroline, my fellow Capricorn, born the day just before me, so always gotta show her extra love, even though I know that there's some criticisms out there. You know who you are. But anyway, after that, then it was Zach Chelly versus Callum Simpson. Now, first round, I saw that obviously Chelly looked like he got wobbled a bit via Callum Simpson, but at this point I was actually flitting between 2 different fights. So I was watching that fight, but I was also watching the Steven Nelson fight as well on on the zone, obviously on the undercard of Crawford v Madrimov. So I wasn't paying attention to either one like wholeheartedly. But yeah, it was. I predicted that Callum Simpson would get the victory on points, unanimous decision, and again, I got that one brilliantly right. And my night was actually starting very, very well because Conor Coyle I predicted via decision. This is talking about my bet. So let me just do my thing. So I had it was Conor Coyle by decision. It was Caroline Dubois by decision. It was Nelson by KO. Callum Simpson by decision. Then it was Andy Cruz by KO, which also took place. Although I fell asleep, I ended up having a nap just as that match was about to take place. So I ended up missing that one and waking up just as the David Morrell fight was taking place. But I saw that Cruz got his stoppage. I think it was a late stoppage as well, which I also predicted it would probably be around sort of 7-8 rounds that he would get a stoppage in. But yeah, then I predicted that Morrell would get the stoppage, and he let me down. But there is a couple of graces that I'm going to give him for the simple fact of, and I noticed this basically when I was watching. I don't know and then I looked on the stream. I asked people, did you guys see this as well? Radjovic was doing very, very, he was being very smart. He was basically keeping his back to the ropes at all times, but circling towards the camera side of the ring ropes. And every time he would basically circle that way, you could see that that's where the sun was shining, and the sun was shining brightest. And obviously the sun is setting on that side of the ring, and it's looking like it's impairing vision of both guys and the referee. But he's obviously being smart to kind of keep in that area, so that it was very hard to, I guess, maybe try and land certain shots. So Morrell was guilty. He was definitely guilty of trying to load up on shots, thinking that I'm just going to take this guy out. Now, he won the fight pretty comprehensively. He did take some unnecessary shots, but he never took any shots that really troubled him. And I guess, when you ain't really respecting your opponent's power, which he wasn't, sometimes you just, do things that you don't need to be doing. He didn't even start really get going in the fight in terms of like moving and actually showing proper boxing skills until maybe rounds 10, 11, 12. By that time it was too late, obviously. And then you would the main power that you had was kind of not where it needed to be. You tired and everything, so it's a whole new experience. Back at 175, that's where he did compete as an amateur, so he's used to fighting at the weight. But I think he'll do quite fine at 175, but he's got to get back to actually boxing as well as using knockout power. And one of the key things for me, as a lot of people said on the stream, and I've always echoed it, I don't like the fact that he's with Ronnie Shields, and I think Ronnie Shields has done as much as he can, or as much as he should allow him to do. He needs to get with a new trainer if that's going to get him back to boxing as well as sitting on those shots, because Ronnie Shields just ain't it. He hasn't been it for years, and to be honest, he probably never really was it. He's got a couple of glamour clients, if we're going to say that, but he wasn't even the one that developed those clients. So yeah, get away from him. Quite frankly, he might as well go to Philadelphia and train with Bozy Ennis and Andy Cruz down there. At least you're gonna have sort of teammates. You guys can be there, learning English off each other as well. Get into that gym, get in some proper working on craft. I think that would be a better fit for him, especially the kind of style that he has. I definitely think that would be a better fit for him than Ronnie Shields. Obviously, I don't know exactly how close Philadelphia, Minnesota are. I don't think they're super close, but I'm sure that you can make that trek or make that sacrifice if need be. Anyway, that was where my accumulator itself got busted, but it's all good, because straight after that we had Jared Anderson, the real big baby, against Martin Bacoli, and I called this fight in on basis picks. I'm pretty sure I said I'm expecting Martin Bakole to win this fight. I think I said between rounds 5 to 7. One of the rounds in there, and lo and behold, the funny thing is, the first round, like, Jared Anderson was doing very well in terms of, trying to trying to work the body, trying to find shots, find angles, but every time he was throwing a shot, it was having no effect on Bakole. Bakole was literally just walking through everything, eyes just wide, just looking at Jared Anderson, like, just throw shots, and nothing happened until he started throwing his shots back. Boom, 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 to the point Jared Anderson dropped in the first round, and dropped heavy. But man, he got up and he gritted through that first round. I give him that. Then he started, he actually won. I could say he probably won rounds 2 and 3, but it just always had an air of inevitability about it. Now, even though Bakole was still just walking through the shots, they did look like they was having more effect in the second and the third round. But I said from the weigh-in, as soon as Jared Anderson is going to try and do the big man game with a guy that's just too big for him, like, you're not going to outman the big guy. So you coming in at 252 pounds was a mistake. He made the exact same mistake that Joseph Parker made coming in at 256 or 257 against Joe Joyce, and when Joyce came in at like 270, I think it was. You're not going to push back the big guy and think, oh, I've got a little bit of extra mustard on the punches. No, you need the stamina to be able to try and take these guys into the later half of the fight and wear them out. That's the same way that Michael Hunter beat Martin Bakole. You're not going to beat him early doors. You got to break him down, and then finally you can get to him and take him out in the later rounds. But you got to have the energy and the gas tank to do that. And unfortunately, Jared Anderson didn't have that, nor did he have the ability to fight someone that's taller than him, which has always been an issue with his matchmaking. I think apart from Kingsley eBay, every single person that he fought was in and around between 5'11" to 6'2", maybe 6'3". They were all smaller than him, so he had loads of bad habits that he was able to get away with, or he was able to employ, because he was fighting smaller individuals. As soon as he fought a bigger guy in Charles Martin, we started to see those deficiencies come to the forefront. And then now you're not just fighting someone who's taller and can crack a bit. You're fighting someone that not only can they crack, they can throw punches in bunches, and they like to throw combinations. Some brutal knockdowns. The first knockdown was off of a short uppercut, which people didn't see. The second one was off of a very short uppercut. It was innocuous. You didn't even see it in real time. It's only when you looked at the replays and you saw the camera angles from ringside that you saw just how badly that knockdown was. Then the third knockdown, the fact that Martin Bakole literally only used his upper body to throw the shot. He didn't even drive the shot from his feet. He basically sort of just threw the shot over his feet, over the body. It wasn't even planted. There was a lot of power on, just from an arm punch, an extended arm punch, but it caught Jared right at the end. Bang, he goes down again through the ropes, does get up. Referee says, look, do you want to He said, look, I still want to go. And I got to give him credit for that. Like, when he could have capitulated and just stayed on the floor and said, nah, to hell with this, he got up and he took his beating. Like, I'll say he took his beating like a man, as much as that's a problematic statement. But it was an enjoyable fight. It was definitely the fight everyone had the most intrigue about, but it was the fight that I had the most confidence in, quite frankly, just based on stylistic deficiencies and things that I'd seen. And unfortunately, that's the last of the American hopes in terms of the heavyweight division. It's not looking good for America when it comes to the heavyweights. But Martin Bakole, and he was in America, I think they say it was a 2-1 underdog. So my odds for him to win via KO was 9-4 on my bet. So had David Morrell not busted my bet by going the distance, I would have had a nice chunk of change off of my bet. It would have been sitting on over, I think it was £600 at the time, if that one had come through. But such is life. After that, Jarrell Big Baby Miller versus Andy Ruiz. Now this one, I always thought that Ruiz would manage to use his experience and his skills to kind of just get through this fight, and he would win on a points decision, but it would be really tight. He started off really well. Obviously, he started to fade quite badly in the middle the middle rounds of this fight. But Jarrell Miller, the problem was he was aggressive. He was on the front foot, always pushing Andy Ruiz around the ring, but he just wasn't throwing punches until sort of round 7 or 8, and even then he was only really trying to throw punches in the very last minute of the round, whereas he said before, I'm gonna be throwing 60, 70, 80 punches around, like high volume. I'm gonna wear him down, I'm gonna stop him. And he just didn't do that, and he started to just basically throw a bunch of shoe shine shots right towards the end of the rounds and trying to nick him. And I didn't feel like he was doing enough to win a lot of those rounds. But he's then started to step on the gas right towards the end, when Andy Ruiz was dirt tired. He was barely able to move, and I thought, oh, the gas tank is just run empty, having to try and force this big burly guy behind you. But when scorecards got read out, I remember I was on the stream, I was like, I think this fight gonna end up a draw, because I've got it either Andy Ruiz sort of won ahead, or I can see a draw, and that's kind of how I had it played out. And then when I heard the scorecard, and I heard the first scorecard to be 116-112 to Jarrell Miller, I was like, oh, that's a big scorecard. But then when it said, but such and such are both in agreement, and as soon as they say that the other two referees are in agreement, that you always know that means it's going to be a draw, especially if they've given a score to one of the other people, because otherwise they would have just said the 116-112, and then they would have said, and the others are in agreement, 115-113, and you give the one name. But when they gave that name and said the other two is in agreement, I said, majority decision draw, and that's where it ended up being. And to be honest, I can't argue with the draw. I understand why Jarrell Miller feels aggrieved, because he was pushing Andy Ruiz around the ring a lot of the time, but Ruiz was still landing a lot of shots, while he's just kind of walking forward, barreling forward, trying to wear the guy out. And sometimes if you can't get the stoppage, that tactic doesn't always work, because it's about the punches that are landed, and your punches ain't really landing. But yeah, I feel like a draw was the right decision. I definitely would happily see them run that fight back when Andy is healthy again, because he took off his wrap and his padding, and his right hand was all jacked up. I think he broke it in the 4th or the 5th round, and you saw how swollen it was. You saw there looked like there was a bone protruding out of it. It didn't look nice. So he's going to be out of the ring probably at least another 6 or 7 months. He might, if he's lucky, make it to the second half of Riyadh season next year, like in March time or something, February or March, in order to get another fight. But yeah, I'd like to see them run that fight back. Even Jarrell Miller and Jared Anderson would be a good fight to, I'd happily see Jarrell have that fight. But I said on the stream yesterday, I wrote on Twitter X, I was quite adamant. I want Bakoli versus Zhang. That's the next fight I need. That's the fight I want. The two big bastards, as you call them, these two burly men, big punching power, accuracy, precision, just, as they'd call them in wrestling, these two big beefy men just going at it. No speed, but nothing but power. And yeah, that's the fight. That's the carnage fight I need to see next, quite frankly. Then we move to Isaac Cruz versus Raul Valenzuela. And at this point, I was saying on the stream, from David Morrell went the distance, and he didn't make and obviously he didn't get the knockout. The first thing I was saying is I want more than one person to mess up what my accumulator would have been, because if I lost my total accumulator, which would have made me $3,000 off of just one person still winning, still getting the right person, but on the method being wrong, I would have felt sick. So luckily, Andy Ruiz and Jerome Miller, they treated me nice. They obviously got different to what my card said. And then Isaac Cruz ended up getting beat by Rayo Valenzuela. I got this one wrong. I thought Cruz would get a stoppage purely because Valenzuela, I knew that he'd have to be locked into a game plan and he'd have to be concentrating for the full 12 rounds. And I've seen him lose concentration before. And all it takes with Isaac Cruz, especially that small, compact style, just to jump in, catch him one time, and obviously sort of take the concentration away, especially in those later rounds when you start getting tired and the concentration starts waning. And I thought that he would be winning the fight and just having a lot of success, but Cruz will just get in towards the end and just sort of starts to take it to him afterwards. And that did kind of happen, but Cruz just wasn't able to really get in deep. And part of that, I think, was number one, the southpaw stance. The fact that he is majorly undersized, even at 135, let alone 140. He's definitely got to move back down to 135. If possible, he needs to see if he can make 130, because yeah, he's just way too undersized for those weights. But Rayo Venezuela was catching him with the backhand uppercuts, the lead uppercuts as well, when he was walking in behind the tight guard. And yeah, just Cruz couldn't get his feet into range, and everything was like it was an ambush every time, rather than applying that sustained pressure, maybe with the up and down motion, trying to, he should have been trying to do that to try and tire out Venezuela, rather than just walking straight up between the high guard and just trying to look for moments. But it is where it is. Ultimately, Rayo Venezuela won the belt. It was a deserved win. Cruz never really should have been afforded opportunities up at 140 anyway, and now Venezuela's got obviously fight Ishmael Barroso, so I'm still looking forward to sort of that fight. I think Venezuela will be okay at 140, but realistically I think he needs to go back down to 135 as well. But yeah, then we had the longest between that fight and the next fight. There was over an hour. And Riyadh Season is very guilty of doing this, but normally you don't get like the musical performances and stuff. Obviously Eminem comes out, and it's weird because Eminem came out and performed. The only song he performed of any like real sort of substance to the audience was like Lose Yourself, and obviously that makes sense based on him and Terence Crawford in the last fight. But obviously he performed Houdini, he performed Rap God, he performed I think it was To My Lungs Collapse as well. I thought he would have performed more like, quote unquote, of his hits, as opposed to just like a selection of random cuts, which to me didn't seem to make a huge amount of sense. But okay, cool. But again, I didn't need this at sort of 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning, when I'm still struggling and everyone else on the stream is struggling, to the point I closed this part the stream off. I just had music playing in the background and said, look, when the last fight comes, we'll come back. But yeah, we got to the main event, Terence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov, and I thought Crawford would get a very late stoppage in this one, and it went to the point where I felt like he could have done. He came out southpaw almost instantaneously. He started off orthodox and moved straight to southpaw, I think realizing that he didn't want to, he wanted to take away Israel Madrimov's power jab, especially the power jab to the body. Now, in order to do that, he sacrificed the fact that he would get hit with a couple of straight rights up top. But he was affecting, to me, he was landing, and he was being busier in the rounds. Basically, he was landing the jab pretty much at will. He was hitting to the body at will. Madrimov maybe was getting sort of the eye-catching one shot here or there, but Crawford was generally outworking him every time he did land something. And I said one of Crawford's biggest strengths and weaknesses is that his desperation to get back if he gets hit. And I feel like that is what also served him in good stead, because he was getting that get back. He was never allowing Madrimov more momentum and success when he was getting in with a shot. Everything was always maybe one shot at a time, and it was, there was very sporadic shots that they was coming in, whereas Crawford was constantly working upstairs, downstairs to the body. So I remember I had it 6-2 after 8 rounds. Shout out to Emma Willis in my chat. She had it 7-1 to Crawford after 8, and she was just like, "I'm so disappointed with Madrimov. He's not throwing any punches. He's like literally he's just there fainting in front, but he's not doing anything. He's not trying to break him down. It's like he's just looking for one solid shot." And like I'm disgusted. And when Emma goes off, she goes off in the chat. So it's always funny to see her reactions. But yeah, I had it sort of 6-2 after that, and then I think I might have gave Madrimov the 9th, and then Crawford, I remember I think I gave him the 10th, and I gave Madrimov the 11th, even though I feel like Crawford, that's when he started to actually get the better of the better of the exchanges. Or I may have looked at it as kind of a draw round. I stopped kind of scoring after the 8th round, like properly in my head, so to speak. But by the time the fight was over, I thought, okay, I had it kind of 117, 111. That's what I was looking at. But I said maybe 116, 112. That's what I saw it in my head. And so when the first scorecard got read out of 116, 112, I was like, okay, yep, that sounds about right to me. I was waiting to hear a 117, 111. It never came. I was like, oh. But then there was two 115, 113 cards. And I said, to me, that felt a bit close to me from what I saw, what I was watching. But, you know, again, the right person ultimately won. Madrimov stops Crawford's, his knockout streak. So it stays at 11 fights and it doesn't reach the 12. But Madrimov was hurt in there on several occasions, and you could tell he was hurt because as soon as a big punch came in, he jumped straight into the clinch, and he was not trying to let go for dear life until the referee broke them. Like he was never ultimately wobbled and, you know, all over the place, but he was hurt to the point where if a couple more shots came in those moments, he was ready to go. And I know he says he feels he did enough to win the fight in the post-fight press conferences and stuff. But yeah, if you look at that fight again, I think he would realize that, yeah, maybe I didn't, just wasn't busy enough. He was looking for, rather than trying to break Crawford down, which obviously is harder from that southpaw stance, which he did intentionally. But yeah, Crawford he was just outworking him basically and outlanding him. And I feel like if Crawford had have switched back to orthodox sort of from round 8, 9, 10, I actually think he would have been able to get that stoppage, because he would have been able to line up the right hand a lot easier, to throw those arcing shots, and the trajectory, because he's got the longer reach, it would have been more to his benefit. But again, I think he was worried about that power jab going into the body and maybe taking the wind out of his sails late. But you know, Crawford did what Crawford needed to do. Very comfortable, comprehensive victory, competitive fight, fun fight, but I don't think it was any controversy or any difficulties to score. The right person won. It was a unanimous decision. He moves on to whatever he's going to do next. So yeah, we wait and see what that is. Ladies and gentlemen, ultimately I'm gonna leave it there. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to be had, although it was a very, very long night, and I know that I am going to suffer for it today, maybe even tomorrow. Like, I'm not as young as I used to be, so those kind of nights, they don't wear well on me, especially when it's a hot day afterwards. The naps are gonna be they're gonna be napping of a different scale again. But yeah, anyway, look, that's kind of the weekend wrapped up. Let me know what you guys thought of the fights, what your favorite fights of the night were, whether that was from the UK card or this card. Any predictions you got wrong, any fights that you were surprised at how they played out. Like, yeah, let me know. But until then, that's pretty much the weekend wrapped up. Thank you everyone who is subscribed, the new subscribers that did come onto the channel last night. I did notice you guys. But yeah, more content coming soon later on. But until then, I will catch you later. Enjoy your Sunday and have a great week. Peace.